It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch presented by Joe's Karting at Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Now with new pricing and new hours. Go to joeskarting.com, search prices, or just click on the prices tab, and it's got everything you need. Annual memberships, single races, 2-packs, 3-packs, which is my favorite to do. You buy 3 races, and you get yourself a little bit of a deal. Plus, they go on your account, so even if you only race once or twice, you've still got that third race sitting there, and you save yourself a little bit of money. You can get single-day memberships, VIPs, training sessions. There's group rates available if you want to go down there with your whole family.
I was reading they're going to start Monday through Thursday running the track backwards.
No kidding.
Left turns.
Oh, boy. We're getting into left turns here. joeskarting.com for more information on all of that. Turn number 1 brought to you by Kansas Speedway. They have more tickets available at just $99 and kids tickets available for $29. Tickets for the SpongeBob SquarePants 400 night race Saturday night, May 9th are available now. Call 866-460-RACE, or you can visit kansasspeedway.com for any social media. Feel free to hashtag SB400. Hashtag SB400, and we'll be hashtagging while we're down there in a couple of weeks, enjoying the festivities and getting a little stuff for the show.
Does that $99 cover the truck race?
I believe that is just for the SpongeBob SquarePants 400 night race. But truck race, you're probably looking at another $20-$30.
I would say 30-35.
While you're there, you might as well make a whole weekend of it. That's the great thing about NASCAR races, is that you go down there for a weekend, and it's almost like a little mini vacation. And rather than just going down for a couple-hour ball game and driving all the way back up, you get to go down on Thursday night, watch the truck race on Friday, watch the Cup race on Saturday, plus all the practices and qualifying in between there, all the festivities that are going on, and meet and greet all the cool NASCAR people that are there to have a good time just like you are.
And that truck racing, in my personal opinion, some of the better racing you're going to see.
It goes back and forth, and as much as I love the Sprint Cup Series, that truck series, those guys get at it sometimes, and they go hard at it. So if you are sold on the beat and the bang and the wrecking, the aggression in the Sprint Cup Series, it's actually down in the truck series more often than not.
Young guys trying to earn their bones.
Exactly, and they'll push the envelope. Kansas Speedway, again, more tickets available for $99 and kids tickets for just $29. 866-460-RACE. Visit kansasspeedway.com. All right, we're joined in the studio. Typically, we talk NASCAR recap in turn number 1, but we haven't had a race since our last show, which, by the way, thanks everybody for calling in and winning tickets during that show and contributing. We really appreciate all of it. Tracy Weber is joining us in the studio. We're going to kick off the show with an interview. How you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Appreciate you hanging around. We've had a couple of technical difficulties while trying to record the show, and then my verbal difficulties, as you will hear in turn number 2. So, anyways, let's get to rolling with the show. Dirk, what are we having Tracy in the show for?
Tracy is a racer that's unique in the fact that he's got probably more comebacks than George Foreman. So, Tracy, what brought you back out this time?
Boredom.
You got tired of having money? Is that what you're saying?
Wait, you have money for this? No, a couple reasons. This year would be the 30th anniversary of me getting into racing, not racing for 30 years. And also, my mom passed away last January in 2014. She was my biggest fan, so I thought I'd go out and try it one more time.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear she passed away.
Thank you.
Make a swan song then, right?
Yeah, something like that.
How long is this attempt going to last? Just depends on how much fun we're having?
Who knows? Who knows?
Talk about your racing career then. 30 years ago when you got into it, what got you into it?
Oh, my dad raced back in 58 in the old coupes. Been going to Playland when I was younger, Sunset, a little bit at the Eagle. And then met a guy when I was younger. He used to help the Kaziskis race, so we got together and built the car and raced a couple times in 84, kicked off 85 on a full season. We ended up buying our half of the car from him and then going from there. And it's just something I've been wanting to do for a long time as I was going through high school, and ended up doing it.
So the Bronco car then was your first one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead.
1974 Cutlass is what it was.
I remember the car.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, what all have you raced?
Started out in the Broncos, street stocks, whatever. 1990, I believe it was, I went to a late model, raced that up through 94. 1995, I built a truck to race out at Eagle, raced that through 2000, and bought a sprint car after that and raced that maybe 2 years. And then 04 and 05, I built the hobby stock and raced that. And then 06, I think I raced a sprint car once or twice, and then sold everything I had. So
Retired and then came back?
yeah.
Is this your first comeback, or are we getting above Brett Favre comeback numbers?
Oh, no.
Or?
This is the first major comeback, I guess. Take a year off, kind of gather your thoughts and save a little money, and then go from there. So
what are your plans for this year then? Do you have goals, or is it, do you want to win 20 races?
No.
And do you want, what's going to be a good year for you?
Good year is just to kind of go out, have fun, don't wreck anything, but in the modified class, sometimes that's, goes with the territory. One feature win would kind of make my world right now, but just go out and have fun. I know a lot of people from racing already, so, I can't say meet new people, but go out, have fun, be competitive. I love to be competitive. I don't want to be tagging the back, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that seems to finally be the deciding straw for a lot of drivers, is that they go from being in the front of the pack to maybe the middle of the pack, and they're tolerating being in the middle of the pack, and then once they start falling to the back of it, they're like, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
It's time to retire.
You bet.
I'm still having fun. I can still compete a little bit, but it's not the competition level I want to be at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the sport mod's a little bit different animal, too, so it's going to take you a little bit getting used to that bad boy.
Right? I'm getting really good at spinning out.
Do me a favor. Get one of those engines that when it spins out, it easily refires before the caution comes out.
Oh, that hurt. That hurt.
I got some dirty looks when I was talking about that at the Bug Eater Bash last weekend at I-80 Speedway, because they had a couple of those. And let's be honest, I don't blame you guys, because you spin out and it's easier just to kind of sit there, maybe let the engine cool down a little bit. Caution comes out, you rejoin the back of the field.
But the thing is, on those specials, they got the Lone Ranger rule, so you have to get it fired up, or else you get invited to the pits. So, last year I raced the Cornhusker, and well, I hate to say it, but hey, I'll admit it. 3 out of the 4 races I spun out. 2 of the times I got invited to the pits. The third time, I got on that ignition switch and took off. So, then last Friday at the Bug Eater, I spun out coming out of 2. And did a nice 360. I went to hit the clutch, got the brake, killed it, and then got it fired right back up and took off. So Saturday night we did good. We didn't. I spun out, didn't spin out, and had a good night. So
good. Well, is it frustrating spinning out like that when you're still trying to learn? Because you're a seasoned veteran. You've had your fair share of racing, but it's still got to be frustrating learning something new.
It can get frustrating, especially with me. Everybody, I imagine, they all have high hopes. They want to do good. Had some handling issues with the car. Just as Dirk said, this is a whole new beast compared to what I've raced. So, learning curve is very steep. But it got frustrating, But you just kind of shrug it off, get going, make your changes for the better, and move on with life. It's done and over with. So
still beginning of the season, it's too early to get frustrated.
Pretty much.
Plans for racing? Where are you going to be at this year?
Just mostly I-80. Depends on if we get the car working really good. It's an older car. It's seen some races, so I'm kind of skeptical about it. But I have a surprise in the garage. But so I-80 is going to be the main focus.
What chassis did you go with?
I've got an old Dirtworks DW8. Seems to be a real popular chassis back in the day, but I hear they're driver friendly, and just a lot of guys love those chassis. So.
Okay, cool.
Tell us about some of your marketing partners. What do you got going on there?
I got the company I work for, which is Sadoff Iron and Metal. They got a location here in Omaha and Lincoln. Josh Trail Performance Coatings does all my powder coating, whatever I need. Rod Moeller at MoellerArms.com. My latest sponsor is Leavenworth Cafe. Tony Caniglia down on Leavenworth, obviously. Yeah. Just came on board, and I'm working on a couple more. So we'll see what happens with that.
Cool. Tracy Weber, what's your car number, by the way?
62T.
62T. I'm trying to think if I remember seeing that car, because I remember Well, obviously I called the race at the Bug Eater Bash, but that just goes to show you how much I pay attention. I don't remember that at all.
Well, I made Saturday night. I made the A because the winner of the B feature dropped out, so I started 25th.
Okay.
So maybe black car with orange numbers. Nothing too spectacular. So I don't mind if you don't remember me yet.
Well,
You said yet, Dan.
Yeah, no, I'll get there. Don't worry about that. I'll remember it now. That was a fun learning experience on Friday and Saturday night, trying to do my first races, and outside of what I've been doing at Crawford County, completely different. So
sure.
Anyways, enough about me. How can people get a hold of you? Maybe to follow you, buy T-shirts, to support you, any kind of stuff like that?
Well, no T-shirts yet. I got a Facebook page, Tracy Weber. Also have one under Weber Racing.
Okay.
No Twitter account or anything like that.
You don't tweet?
Don't tweet.
Instagram, probably?
Don't even do that. I'm an old guy.
Yeah, no, I tried to do the Twitter for a while, and it's hopeless. I can't do it. I've reached that age where
there you go.
It looks like I need the Rosetta Stone to figure out what is going on Twitter.
Right.
So I stick to Facebook. That'll be over in a couple of years. We'll find something new.
Sure.
Yeah, so.
But I'll throw my number out there. It's 402-616-5122. And, just like everybody else, we're always looking for some marketing partners to come on board to help ease the pain a little bit.
Yeah, it's expensive habit to do this, and there's very few guys out there that make some money off this whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
At least you called it what it was, a habit, not a hobby.
Yeah.
It's an addiction. Addiction.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be back in turn number 2. Josh Krug, I found out it's Josh Krug, is going to join us and talk about his racing career. We'll be back here in turn number 2.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
This is Andrew from Kosiski Auto Parts. Kosiski Auto Parts is an insurance-quality used parts supplier that can match your foreign or domestic car or truck needs. If you have a damaged or broke-down car or truck, we guarantee a clean and quality part in next-day fashion. Kosiski Auto Parts, your neighborhood premium recycled parts supplier. Call any Kosiski Auto Parts salesman today by dialing 402-731-4592 or visit us at 5040 I Street in Omaha. Kosiski Auto Parts, our quality used parts will match your car or truck's needs.
Hey, NASCAR fans, racing season is here. That's right, it's the SpongeBob SquarePants 400 at Kansas Speedway, May 9th, under the lights. Come out and meet SpongeBob and Patrick and see the NASCAR superstars. Clint Boyer, Jeff Gordon, Danica Patrick, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Tickets are $99 or less, and kids' tickets are $29. For tickets, call 866-460-7223 or visit KansasSpeedway.com today.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. We're heading into turn number 2, brought to you by Kosiski Auto Parts, online at Kosiski.com and I-80 Speedway. The specials for April are all wrapped up, but the weekly racing series kicks off April 24th. You can buy your tickets online at i-80speedway.com. We're going to talk to a driver who sounds like he's going to be racing weekly out there, so we're talking to Josh Krug. Josh, how you doing, sir?
Good. Getting ready to go for the 2015 season.
Are you ready to go, or are you still getting ready to go?
Yeah. You always think you're ready, but then there's always one little thing that you think you could better and you want to get ready for.
Yep.
So, but I think we are.
Talk about what got you into racing. What was the start of this whole thing for you?
Oh, man. We'd have to go back from when I was a kid. I know we were just talking about Sunset Speedway, but yeah, that was it. Going to Sunset and watching guys like Joe and Ed and Wyman and those guys race, Howard Kozel, and just watching them. And then growing up, I didn't think I'd ever would race super late, but here I am now, 29, and doing what those guys did. So that's where it all started.
Did you ever think you'd be doing anything different?
Yeah, I didn't think I'd ever race at that kind of level, and I certainly didn't think I'd race on asphalt. But my dad put me in a car when I was 17, and it just kind of took off from there. I've been running good ever since.
Yeah, and talk about good. I mean, 2003 seems to be your rookie year. You won a couple of features at I-80, moved your way up into asphalt racing, looks like 2005 and 2006. Talk about that transition. What got you to that to the asphalt racing?
I started early when I was 17 and had some success there. And, it was my dad who kind of wanted to push for something more, I guess, so to say. And me too. It didn't really sink in that this would maybe become a career until I was having a little bit of success. But we moved to a track in Missouri called I-70 Speedway, and we ran on asphalt and ran good, and had a chance to race ARCA and do things like the Gong Show, and even tried to qualify for a nationwide race and things like that. And it just all kind of fell onto me, I guess, so to say. And but now we're back at I-80, and I'm looking for a career in other fields. So,
I know there 10, 12 years ago is when NASCAR kind of got away from letting guys come racing dirt and jump into a truck or into a Grand National car, a Busch car at that time. Mm-hmm. And, so you had to switch over. You had to go try some asphalt to be able to get into get in there.
That's exactly right. You got to go through a qualifying process, either in ARCA or somebody has to watch you. On especially the big tracks like Michigan or Daytona, you have to be qualified to even get a chance to get into those cars.
And even some of that stuff NASCAR looks at. You got Eric Jones running the Truck Series this year, goes and runs second in the race at Daytona, but they said he wasn't good enough to run Atlanta yet.
Yeah, that's exactly case in point of I think something where he didn't qualify in the right procedure, or I'm not even sure what happened.
I don't know. All I know is they wouldn't okay him for Atlanta. Now he ran Texas, won the Texas race last week, so kid's got talent, but for whatever reason NASCAR got a little mad at him for something.
That's easy to do some days.
Oh,
you
yeah.
can just say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, and you're on NASCAR's wrong side. Not to dive too much into it, but you had a successful ARCA career. I think you ran a full season, finished really well within the top 10, but the sponsorship dollars and the team just didn't come together for the next year, right?
It's such a sponsorship-driven sport, and and it just the things didn't work out the way we wanted them to, anyways. But money was a lot of it. To take that initial step, sometimes you have to invest a lot, and we couldn't do that, my family, and I just didn't have a sponsorship as well to continue pursuing that kind of career.
That's got to be frustrating.
Well, that's what a lot of people don't realize. A lot of these drivers, when they get to move up the ladder, it's because they've got somebody that's paying the bill.
Yeah.
Look at Danica Patrick.
Yeah, and a lot of these drivers, I don't want to say Brad Keselowski. I mean, the story when he won his championship was that his dad sold everything to fund his career. I mean, really put everything on the line. And if it wasn't for that, he wouldn't be a Sprint Cup champion. So it's just, it's got to be kind of frustrating to sit there going, I'm a talented driver, I've proven it, but I just can't find the funding to go behind me and do this. And that's probably is that the hardest part about racing, is finding someone to foot the bill?
It is. It's one of the big stepping stones in racing. But, I just love to do it. To even be racing now is a blessing. And things just weren't meant to be as it was. And I'm pursuing a career in engineering now. So everything worked out.
Well, that'll be good background to have for the car then.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where it started. That's my interest.
That's what Ryan Newman does. I mean, maybe he can teach you how to bleed your tires.
Hey, now.
I already know how to do that.
Yeah, but maybe you could teach him how to get away with it better.
Oh, yeah.
So you're going to be running a super late model now, full-time. Are you running full-time at I-80 for your weekly track points? What are you looking for? Maybe the SLMR series a little bit here and there?
That's exactly right. We're going to try to make I-80 every week and hit SLMR when we can. Maybe hit a couple weekly races out at Corning as well.
Okay. Talking with Josh Krug, driver of the 4K Super Late model. You were out at the Spring Meltdown, weren't you?
Nope.
A couple weeks ago. You guys were just out there kind of messing around?
No, we haven't made a debut.
Oh, God, I swear I called your name. I thought I heard them call your name at the race.
I was in the stands listening to you drinking beer.
Okay, well, I was going to say that. Well, okay, this is one more reason why I got to quit drinking.
You might have called his name.
You know what? That's very true, because I've definitely called people's names, and the people will try to be like, he's not here tonight, not racing. Oh, whoops. When's your debut going to be then? Probably April 24th for the weekly open?
Yes, April 24th. We're hoping to make that show.
Okay, cool. What about some big races? Do you have some big races kind of pointed out on your schedule? Maybe we'll try to race the Silver Dollar Nationals, maybe pick up some MLRA or CBC races?
You know, there are some opportunities to qualify for the Silver Dollar race, and if those, we will try to do those shows. I think there's SLMR show that will guarantee a spot into the Silver Dollar race, and we're going to try to do that. And towards the end of the year, we like to do specials and go down to Missouri for the SLMR series. That was kind of fun last year. But
down at Lakeside?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're just going to be hanging around that series and hanging around home mostly.
Probably full up on sponsorship, kind of tongue-in-cheek here.
Pretty much.
You're never full up on sponsorship, are you? You
No.
can always use more. How can people get a hold of you if they want to support your racing?
You can contact me or my dad at 402-932-9899.
Okay.
Or my cousin Chris. We've put him in charge of our marketing. He's got a strong head on his shoulders for that kind of thing. And
should we get him to leave the room so he can tell the truth? And then Facebook, obviously. Are you guys on Twitter too?
Yes, we're on Facebook.
Okay.
We have Josh Krug Racing on Facebook, and I'm on there as well.
Krug?
Krug.
See, I've always heard it pronounced Krug.
It's highly debatable.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I like Krug.
Okay. We'll go with Krug then.
Put that little dash above that U.
Yeah, there we
That's a
go.
long-
There we go. All right, Josh. Best of luck to you this year, and we'll talk to you the first time you're in Victory Lane, all right?
Okay, thank you.
All right, that was Josh Krug. You can find him on Facebook, Josh Krug Racing. You can find him on Twitter, or just search for him and support your local racers. It's the best thing you can do to keep this sport going. All right, we'll be back in turn number 3. We got a great interview lined up for you. Marc Wulf, who is the second fueler for Kevin Harvick at Stewart-Haas Racing. He was a part of those guys that switched over when the chase started last year from Tony Stewart's team. Josh is kind of the backup to the main fueler, and we're going to find out exactly.
You did call Josh's name.
This has been a rough day. I'm really sorry. I've been all day long. I've been calling people by their wrong names.
But what it amounts to is Marc Wulf is an Omaha native.
Thank you. And we're going to talk to him. I'm going to get my stuff together. We'll be back in turn number 3. This is The Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Hey, NASCAR fans, racing season is here. That's right, it's the SpongeBob SquarePants 400 at Kansas Speedway, May 9th, under the lights. Come out and meet SpongeBob and Patrick and see the NASCAR superstars. Clint Boyer, Jeff Gordon, Danica Patrick, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Tickets are $99 or less, and kids' tickets are $29. For tickets, call 866-460-7223 or visit KansasSpeedway.com today.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to The Front Stretch, heading into turn number 3, and on the phone now with the man that is a second fueler for Stewart-Haas Racing, and more specifically for the number 4 car of Kevin Harvick. Marc Wulf joining us on the phone. How you doing, sir?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to have a little conversation with us. Dirk brought this to my attention. You're from the Omaha, Nebraska area, right?
Yep, born and raised. Went to Westside High School, graduated back in 2004, and get back there every so often. And I love try to get back there when we can for the Kansas races. It's just a hop, skip, and jump down I-29. I like to get up there every once in a while whenever I can. But yeah, born and raised. My family still lives there, and try to get back there as often as possible.
So you did a little hanging out at Sunset Speedway and then probably I-80 and Eagle a little bit?
Sunset was a little bit before my time. My family really never was into racing. I remember years and years ago, basically kind of getting the racing bug, and I'm 6'6", 6'7", giant, and I asked my dad if I could get a race car, and he basically kind of shook his head and gave me a pair of basketball shoes. So that was kind of my racing career starting up. But I never went out to Sunset. I had some friends who did, and then I had a good friend of mine who raced sprint cars over at Eagle, and kind of went there a few times. And I've been to Eagle quite a bit, I-80 here and there. So, but yeah, definitely, frequenting some dirt tracks around there.
Oh, that's good. We like dirt track people.
So it wasn't
Absolutely.
It really wasn't a racing thing for your family. So how did you fall into this? I mean, because we always hear those stories of them going and finding, like the teams going and finding these ex-football players or ex-wrestlers. Was that your case, that they went and found you, or were you into racing as you kind of talked about there at the end?
I mean, I've been into racing for a while. I always, if I couldn't drive, I kind of want to be a part of it in some way. I mean, years and years ago when I was 15 years old, I went down to Daytona Motor Speedway or Daytona International Speedway. And they have that experience where they had a pit crew on hand where they kind of showed you how fast they could do it, and then they volunteered some people to try it. And I tried carrying tires when I was 15 years old, and those tires are all of 80 pounds, so I struggled with that. But I knew I wanted to do something in the sport, and basically, whether it was turning the wrenches on race cars and doing it that way, or getting on the athletic side of things with the pit crew, love to do that type of stuff. And throughout high school and didn't play any college sports, just kind of some club sports in college, and, still worked out like I was playing football and everything. And so, just kind of got where I was today with a lot of hard work, a lot of great people in the sport who've been looking out for me, and just years of knowing people and, putting your head down and putting in a good effort.
Did you go to one of those tryouts that they have here in Omaha every year, or did you just head up to North Carolina and stake your claim?
I never went to one of those tryouts. My story is basically I went to school in St. Louis, got my undergrad at St. Louis University, and they didn't really have much racing there except for Gateway Speedway. I went over there whenever trucks, and at that time the Busch Series was in town and stuff, so enjoyed watching those races and kind of going to a couple of dirt tracks around there. Basically, went back home and knew went back to Omaha after I graduated, worked selling mortgages. I still sell mortgages to this day as kind of my main paying job, but went back home and was like, okay, I got to move out to North Carolina. I met a good friend of mine. His name is Josh Berry. He's a developmental driver for Dale Earnhardt Jr. through their limited or their late model stock car series and everything. He's a good friend of mine, and he got the opportunity back in 2010 to drive those late models and everything for him. And basically, he's like, I want you to be on my crew. I want you to kind of help me out. So I had a pile of savings and headed on out to North Carolina without a job or anything like that after, working in the corporate world for a little bit. So that was kind of daunting and scary. Got out here and everything and started doing that and, meeting a lot of people through that. And basically that's eventually what ended up bringing me over to Stewart-Haas is one of the guys who used to work at the fab shop and also at Junior Motorsports. He's also a giant guy like myself, and we befriended one another. And last year he was the fueler for Kurt Busch, and basically that he wanted me to be his second fueler. Well, a lot of different things happened. A couple things that happened on the team where the first 6 races when I started at Kansas last year, the spring Kansas, and ran fuel for Danica for about 6 races. Then got moved over to the second fueler for Tony, and then when the chase came around, the whole swap of the 14-4 guys, I was part of that, where they originally wanted to take just the 6, like the changers and carriers and the jackman, and not even our main fueler, who's by far the best fueler on pit road. His nickname is Big Country, and the guy can bench press about 550 pounds. He's a freak of nature, so it's a good person to be learning from. And everyone just kind of stayed in as a team. Said, we're not going unless both Mark and Country come on over, and the rest is history. So they stuck with us this year, and we've been having a hell of a year so far.
So you're saying everybody can't bench press 550 pounds?
No, he's just a freak of nature. He's a good old Tennessee boy. So, he's one of the best out there.
So do you actually work in the shop then at Stewart-Haas? Then you said you do a lot of mortgages yet.
Yeah, I work at Wells Fargo Home Mortgage during the week and everything. I actually pulled into the shop now because I usually get my workouts in after work and everything like that. And I stop by every once in a while. I used to be able to kind of leave throughout the day and kind of go to pit practice. And so now if I have to do anything, it's either before work or after work and everything now. So
you're not a fabricator or a welder or something like that by trade. You've got a real job and work the weekends.
Yeah, exactly. So, and they've been pretty gracious to let me do those things. I've also been pitting, here and there. I'm not on a specific team, but whenever they need it, pitting for the Truck Series and Xfinity Series as well as the primary fueler. So I kind of get my reps and everything like that as a main fuel guy. So,
talk about being a second fueler. What's that entail for you when you get to the track to when you guys, when Victory Lane's all done being cleaned up and you guys are headed home? What's your responsibilities as a second fueler?
Sure. I mean, basically just be there to support the main fueler. I mean, I'm the one who usually during most pit stops hands the can over the wall, the second can and all that stuff. Gives him the first can while he's sitting up on the pit road wall and all that. From when we get there in the morning, we all fly in as a team. We have a private jet that seats about 50 or so. So all 4 teams are on that jet and everything. So we'll fly it wherever. We all kind of break up into our team vans and go to the track in the team vans. My team has a superstition. They love stopping at Dunkin' Donuts if there's one around beforehand. So we'll stop there and grab some food and then head to the track. But then right away, usually it's, go out to pit road, set up a pit box and everything like that. They'll start bringing tires and everything that have been mounted up and checked by the tire guy with like tread depth and everything. So we'll start laying them out how they are and then, just basically do tire prep where they'll kind of get the burrs off where the axle cap is so nothing hangs up there. Spray the backside of them with dry graphite loops. So, at some of the tracks where you use brakes and everything, there's some paint that's on the backside of the rim. They don't want that to stick on the hub and everything there. So, we prep them that way, kind of, clean out where the lug nuts are going to be glued up on and brake clean them so there's no dirt or grime or anything to make that weather stripping what they glue the lug nuts up on with and everything so they don't fall off. And then it's kind of a hurry up and wait game where we, have a couple hours to kill and everything. So usually we're kind of back in the hauler or, out of the pit box, just messing around, having a good time. So, love meeting new fans and everything, especially if they're Husker fans. I always get, every once in a while I'll wear a Husker hat around and everything. I usually like the sponsor ones, but every once in a while I'll wear a Husker hat around and get some Go Big Reds here and there. So that's always pretty fun.
Good news for you is when you're back in Kansas in October, you can maybe tune into the radio station you're on right now, which is going to be the new home of the Huskers. So you may be able to listen to a game.
Absolutely. If I'm there for a nationwide or Xfinity race and everything, and if I can swing it, I'm hauling the mail up north to try to get to Lincoln for a game this fall or so if I can. So, but
you mentioned the crew being a little superstitious. What is the craziest superstition one of your fellow crewmen have?
It really depends. I mean, they all kind of do their own pre-race stretches, wear certain underwear or whatever, or, certain kind of like, Under Armour tops that, kind of wick away sweat because especially in the summertime, it gets quite hot in those fire suits and everything. Just stuff like that or what they eat before, just random stuff like that.
Nothing really crazy like, let's see.
Wear the same pair of socks all season?
Yeah.
No, not really. I mean, but people have their superstitions. Like some of them, they won't take their phones out to the pit road or anything or look at them during a race or anything like that. They'll just kind of set them back there at the hauler and just keep them there, or they'll, have to prep their, pit guns a certain way every time and everything like that. I mean, nothing too crazy.
We're talking with Marc Wulf, the second fueler for the number 4 team, the Kevin Harvick team at Stewart-Haas Racing.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned cell phones and stuff on pit road. I did the official thing, and back then when we were based in a series, I worked the truck series, and of course on a triple header weekend or whatever, I'd work the Busch race and the Cup race. I got out of it in 2005. but we were not allowed to carry our phones at all unless we had something medical going on. If your wife was pregnant or you had somebody sick at home, emergency type stuff. But otherwise, you didn't carry that phone. And saw Wayne Otten one time. Actually, a guy was walking through the garage talking on his phone. Wayne walked over and said, "I left my phone in the hauler. I need to borrow yours for a minute." The guy said, "All right," and hung up on who he was talking to. And Wayne took it, walked over and got a 3-pound sledgehammer off a toolbox and smashed it. Said, "When I said no cell phones, I meant no cell phones." Handed it back to him.
Now that you say that, I've never seen an official with a cell phone. But
there you
for the
go.
most part, like while we're setting up and stuff, we'll play music on like these pit boxes nowadays. I'll tell you, are quite amazing. Like we have our own, sound system on there that's Bluetooth enabled. So while we're gluing up tires and doing setup and stuff, we'll play some music and everything. And some of the fans walking through the pits will listen to it and stuff. Going back to the kind of superstitious thing, while we were kind of on our little hot streak there of top twos. Our rear changer, for whatever reason, he's got a couple little girls. Actually, he's just got one little girl he just had, but he's been playing like Disney music beforehand, and so we're all laughing when a bunch of giant pit crew guys is playing like Lion King and Aladdin songs and stuff. So that has to work up until Martinsville. So.
Hey, Mark, what do you make of this new officiating, the automated officiating system? A lot of teams seem to have been getting penalized, and I don't mean to put you on the spot and maybe get you in hot water with NASCAR, but what's kind of the feel in the pits as far as this new system? Is it being well received, but looking for some tweaks to it still?
Apparently it's the same camera system that they use in tennis for telling if the ball's in or out on the line. So they have those camera systems. I've kind of seen some, but they're very good. NASCAR's very good about getting with our pit coaches and letting them know, here's what trends we're seeing, here's what you should look for and stuff. Those cameras are so good. Like I park, I got to run the fuel before the races, so I'll go get the fuel cans all full and take them, to our pit box and everything. And so we weigh them. And then after the stop, we weigh them, and then they tell us how much a gallon weighs, so we can figure out how many gallons we got in there. But basically, I parked the cart, kind of over a line where I shouldn't be. I was just kind of being lazy and didn't want to walk too far away. It's just pretty packed back there with people, and all of a sudden, an official came up, and apparently they saw it on one of those cameras where I parked it, and they wanted me to move it. So they're pretty. They can zoom in pretty close and everything. Same thing with like people jumping over the wall too early. What they'll do is they'll make sure the nose of the car is in the front end of the pit box behind them. As long as it hits that line, everyone's foot can touch the ground except, a fueler. We can already have our feet on the ground ahead of time. We just can't lift up from the wall then. But they'll pause it at that point and look at the pit box to make sure nobody's foot's down on the ground already. And it's pretty crazy on that side of things. It's definitely good for the sport as far as, I know they're trying to cut costs here and there and having 42 officials sit up and down pit road. And they have made mistakes before, we've gotten caught on that with Tony back in at Richmond where, they thought a lug nut wasn't off and he was, trying to make it into the chase last year. And they ended up putting us at the tail end of the line. So, basically there's a lot of different things. It's a cool system to see in motion. I just think, they kind of need to be more consistent on their judgment calls of uncontrolled tires. I felt bad for the 11 team. One of these weeks I saw one of them where, the front tire carrier was pushing one back to the wall while grabbing the other right rear tire that came off the car. And, there's someone at the wall ready to grab it, but he was maybe 5 feet away from it while it was rolling to the wall. And they called him on that. So I feel bad on that side of things. But, for the most part, it's a cool system.
I spent some time with the official I used to work with a lot. I hung nose templates on the trucks. And the guy that I worked with is out of Missouri, and I spoke to him last week. And I know Dan and I had both talked at California race that we were talking about Denny Hamlin's tire penalty out there. And, the tire was clearly out of the box, went out onto pit road, out of the right front. But, they kept showing, who's that crew chief?
Dave Rogers.
Dave Rogers, there you go. Talking to the official about it. And, I said, well, you did pretty good keeping your cool. He goes, well, he wasn't worried about that penalty. He wanted a mulligan because evidently they missed one.
Yeah.
In Phoenix, they called him for over the wall too soon when it was actually the 51 behind him.
Yeah.
So, there's even though they've tried to perfect this deal, you still got the human error in there.
Absolutely. I mean, especially when pit stops are going on like a caution, pretty much all the lead lap cars, and if it's early in the race, you got, 38 to 40 cars coming in at once, and, you have maybe a lap to assess the penalties on all, 40 cars or so, and I'm sure it's, tough that way, and, during a long green flag run, you have kind of spurts of it, so I guess it's easier where you can, take a look at, here's a car pitting here, here's a car pitting there, and kind of go through that, but it's. I think the first couple of weeks they said there was the most penalties they've ever had, and a lot of them were just people going over the wall too soon or having uncontrolled tires and everything in the pit box. So,
did you have any fueling experience before they went to the no catch can?
No, I didn't. I mean, the only thing I did was, like I said, my good friend Josh Berry, who is a developmental driver for Dale Jr. He actually raced last year in a couple of Nationwide Series races, but to get Nationwide approved, we raced in a couple K&N East Series, one at Greenville Pickens in South Carolina, and then one at Richmond. And both of those races had halfway breaks where they don't, make them do live pit stops or anything. But all those cars, they're kind of the older body styles from like the old Busch cars or old ARCA cars and stuff. And they all have those old redhead fuel cans, which they do have catch cans on there. So, I had to throw someone in there, and they're a heck of a lot easier to hit the Pro Bowl and everything and get plugged in, and they flow a hell of a lot faster. But I could definitely see where the good old boys of Chocolate Myers and Gooch Patterson, who used to do for Tony back in the day, how tough they had it with those kind of things, with basically having a live bomb on your shoulder and where fuel could spray out really easy. Nowadays, it's pretty much all self-contained.
We really even had a chance to talk to you about the pressure you guys are under when it comes to those pit stops. 12 seconds is kind of getting to be the mid-range. You're seeing 11 and a half seconds now. There's got to be a lot of pressure when they throw a caution, and you guys know it's on. We can either gain him 5 positions or we can lose him 10.
Absolutely. It's a big competition out there, and right now a lot of the leader as far as equipment wise, Joe Gibbs, they have it figured out on their impact guns. They're running crazy PSI through them, and they're able to, rip those lug nuts off and put them back on faster without, over torquing them or anything like that. And then the whole lug nut rule itself, basically if you're not only hitting 4, if you're hitting all 5 on and off, you're out of the ball game. So, everyone's basically trying to find pieces here and there to kind of speed them up and everything. And, the next thing, once the changers are faster than fuel stuff, everyone's looking to work on the fuel probes, finding a way to fuel, faster or fill it up faster. So it's unbelievable how much money they spend on equipment, on pit stops and everything to get them faster, because nowadays with all the aerodynamic packages, gaining positions on pit road is so instrumental in, winning races and running up front and running good. One of the feelings also was awesome last week, or even at Phoenix too. A couple times in crunch time, Kevin came in, second, third, fourth, or whatever, and we just had some great stops and got him out first and everything. And part of that, especially at a small track like Martinsville, it's not a big pit road, and we were pitting kind of in pit stall 38, which is basically in turn 4. And just having cars still coming in while you're trying to get out, and as long as they're kind of helpful, that definitely makes our job easier as well and safer. I guess for the changers and everything who go over on the front right side and everything. So
Marc Wulf, the second fueler for the number 4 team at Stewart-Haas Racing, driven by Kevin Harvick. Marc, we appreciate your time, man, and we look forward to seeing you down in Kansas in a couple of weeks, and we'll be down there for the SpongeBob SquarePants 400.
Absolutely, and that's a heck of a race name to, mouthful on that side of things. I can't wait to see the trophy. I hope Kevin can, win it. So I'm sure his little boy Keelan would love to play with that trophy.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
We talked about it, when they first come up and named the sponsor a couple months ago, and it's kind of a good idea getting these kids involved.
Absolutely. And luckily, one thing I love every time I come back to Kansas City for a race and everything, before we fly out after the race, they always give us a post-race meal, and usually it's Jack Stack's barbecue, some brisket sandwiches and stuff. Love that. It's amazing.
You don't have Jimmy John's delivered?
We get Jimmy John's quite often, pretty much on our whole West Coast swing. They were out there and hook us up with sandwiches and everything.
Wow.
So props to them. I love myself some Jimmy John's.
All right, Mark, we got to head out. We appreciate you taking the time. We'll try to look you up and say hi to you when you're down in Kansas.
You got it. Take care, guys.
All right, we'll be back here on the front stretch. Turn 4 just around the corner.
Hey, NASCAR fans, racing season is here. That's right, it's the SpongeBob SquarePants 400 at Kansas Speedway, May 9th, under the lights. Come out and meet SpongeBob and Patrick and see the NASCAR superstars. Clint Boyer, Jeff Gordon, Danica Patrick, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Tickets are $99 or less, and kids' tickets are $29. For tickets, call 866-460-7223 or visit KansasSpeedway.com today.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Oh, welcome back to the front stretch. We are just about ready to wrap this baby up, and boy, by the way my day's going, I'm ready.
I hear you.
I think I'm having a, let's see, who do I want to pick on? I'm having a Danica Patrick kind of a day, except it is my fault.
You mean...
Bristol Motor Speedway today. Let's talk about BMS for the race today. Looks like green flag is, keep changing it on me, noon. Coverage on Fox, and PRN has this race also. So you can check it out. If you don't happen to have a TV handy, but you've got your smartphone, you can download the PRN app, and you can listen to the Performance Racing Network broadcast the race for free on the PRN app. Talk to me about Bristol. This is a little bit of a different track than Martinsville.
Oh, ton different, just with all the banking. It's a self-cleaning track. You spin out at the top, you end up at the bottom. That's just the way life works at this place. Loudest place I ever had to work a race. I mean, incredibly loud. You can't hear yourself think, let alone what they're telling you to do on the radio. So at least you got an excuse when you mess up. Since they've revamped it and redid the grinding and stuff, I mean, the track's definitely changed. It's not your old bump and run like it was forever and ever. And now the high groove seems to be the place to make your bones at and get your racing done, where it used to just be follow the leader around the bottom. But still some good racing. I just really enjoy the short tracks over the big tracks.
Chad's picks for today would be, let's see, trying to pull up the right page. Let's see, Dale Earnhardt, Jimmy Johnson, Carl Edwards, Kurt Busch, Clint Boyer. You okay with him going with Carl Edwards?
Well, yeah, now that Carl got that top 10 last week, maybe Carl's going to go ahead and shake some of that rust off and move on up the line. This is his type of track, concrete, the half mile. The one that kind of surprises me with the way the year's going is that he stuck Clint Boyer in there.
Yeah. Clint not very happy at Texas.
Oh, Clint is struggling.
And there seems to be a couple of teams, and I know we pick on them quite frequently, but, Michael Waltrip Racing and Roush Fenway, they don't seem to be off the ball. They seem to be completely out of the ballpark.
Yeah, they're not even in the game right now, but one or two good races and you get your confidence back and all that can change. Once you start chasing these setups, you'll get yourself so far out of whack that, something's got to reel you back in and you got to go back and start at square one. The cars are changing, so, your notes from 10 years ago aren't any good anymore.
Heck, with the rules package this year, your notes from last year aren't good anymore.
Exactly.
What was it? I want to say it was Phoenix or Vegas. They were talking about Clint Boyer. Clint Boyer's crew chief, Brian Patty, they had a great race there this time last year, that time last year. And so Brian Patty brought his same setup back, exact same setup, and they were running a second slower than everyone else.
Well, yeah. I mean, those setup, the way these cars are set up, they're set up when you let go of the steering wheel, the car turns left.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you go into the corner, if you've got a setup to where you can go into that corner at, let's just say, 150 miles an hour, whatever the track happens to be, and when you lift, the chassis is going to do what it does, and start setting for the turn and help you do that. Now, if you've got 100 horsepower less, you're not going into the turn at 150 anymore unless you're driving deeper in. Well, if you're driving deeper in, then the line is different.
Yeah.
And so the handling is different.
So it really is. I mean, just dropping that 100 horsepower, it really is a big difference.
Absolutely.
And that's, I mean, Tony Stewart has talked about the reason why he struggles so much is because this is basically an Xfinity car rather than a Cup Series car. And he doesn't like the 100 less horsepower. He's having a tough time getting acclimated to it.
Well, he's been to all the tracks enough. He's having to learn to drive a different line than what he's used to driving.
This time last year at Bristol Motor Speedway, Carl Edwards came home with the win. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. up there battling for the win. Had a second-place finish. Eric Almirola, Tony Stewart, and Marcus Ambrose were your top 5. Denny Hamlin, Jeff Gordon, Casey Kane, Brian Vickers, and Kyle Larson rounded out your top 10. Kevin Harvick was involved in an accident early. He wrecked out, finished 39th. Jamie Mack, also involved, I believe, in that same accident, finished 38th. Kurt Busch, 35th. Kyle Busch, 29th. And Dale Jr., 24th. So that's the way they rolled out Bristol Motor Speedway this time last year.
Well, Junior's had some success there. So, I know he's still looking to get a real good run under his belt this year and get his first win. Like I said, Carl, the same way. Obviously, Kyle Busch should be a force there. Brad Keselowski's going to be a force there.
Yep.
So
there's a couple of guys, and it seems to favor the more aggressive style guys that aren't afraid to put the nose in there and maybe move you.
Well, it really favors those guys if they're in second. But the guys that run fast up front, Jimmy Johnson's going to be good there. Mm-hmm. Jeff Gordon should probably be pretty good there. He's won some races there. If you're in front, you don't need your nose.
Talking about Kyle Busch, he had a meeting earlier, or had a press conference earlier this week with the NASCAR media at Joe Gibbs Racing. A couple of notes from that. Busch says the accident was the hardest hit of his entire career. And he actually said, call me crazy, call it whatever you want to, but when they were getting their cars fired up and relieving pit road, he saw that area that he ended up hitting, and he thought, I've never actually looked at that area. It's kind of strange. There's no safer barrier there. And then sure enough, later on in the race, he found it and compound fractured his leg or his ankle. He said that he left the racing surface, so that's between the yellow lines. Yep. And then, once he left that yellow line, he was doing 176 miles an hour. By the time he hit the wall, he was doing 90. He only got slowed down about 80 miles an hour. If my math is
basically half.
Yep. So hits the wall, and 90 G's of force were exerted on that car, is what NASCAR told him from the R&D center.
Yeah, they've got a data recorder on the car.
Is that high? Is that mid-range, about normal? Because I know they talked about the G-forces that took Dale Sr., but they never announced the actual number. I've
seen him get a lot closer to 200.
Holy cow.
But it's on a lot higher hit, usually something at the end of the straightaway when they're doing 180 and they blow a tire, something like that. But still, 90 G's is still a lot of force.
That's a lot of force. Let's see. The crash was so hard that his helmet and chest hit the steering wheel. I know some of these guys, they have the steering wheels in different positions. But that seems like a long distance to travel, especially when you've got those belts tight. Now, maybe they loosened up a little bit from racing throughout the day, but that seems like a lot of travel between, with the impact. It seems like it should be a lot less.
Well, again, depending on exactly how close he sets his steering wheel, and the belts are going to stretch a little bit, your body's going to give a little bit, so that you can't make it to where your body doesn't move at all.
Mm-hmm. Because that would even be worse. It's the stretching and the giving that helps absorb some of the energy and cause less damage.
Right.
Let's see. He knew instantly that both legs were broken, and Busch took total blame for the incident, says that he was being too greedy trying to win the race. And the thing that everyone's been asking is, when's he coming back? Still doesn't have an answer for that yet. Says that he is improving and he is ahead of what doctors thought he was going to be at this point, but they don't have a timetable as far as when he's going to be back to the racetrack.
Probably as soon as his RC career crashes.
That was pretty funny. Because he started to, if you go back and watch the video, it was pretty funny because he goes through the statement and then he goes through the video of how the incident laid out. And it was kind of interesting because the amount of detail these guys remember is just shocking to me, because the entire incident happened probably over 2-3 seconds. but it took him 20 minutes to talk through the entire thing. And that just goes to show you how quickly that process goes and how fast they're able to, you're able to think in those situations, especially those guys that are so used to this stuff. But, yeah, and then after he was all done with that, he kind of starts with this statement of, after a lot of consideration and speaking with sponsors and consulting with Samantha, his wife, and I'm like, oh my God, is he retiring? Is he going to call it quits? Of all people to call it quits early in his career, he's going to be the one to do it. And he says, I think I've decided to pursue an RC racing career, and nobody in the media center laughed. It was just silent. It's very, and he goes, no, I'm just kidding. I'll be back as soon as I can. He says he wants to be back in time for Daytona in July, but he's not sure how likely or how possible that's going to be. He also said that he wants to be Chase eligible upon his return, but believes it could be hard to get into the top 30 in points. He does have one more surgery scheduled on this leg, set for late December to remove the screws screws and the plate in his left foot. So that was the Kyle Busch the Kyle Busch press conference at Joe Gibbs Racing earlier this week. So that kind of does it. I tuned in to find out when he's coming back because I'd heard rumblings that he was supposed to be back at Texas, and I'm thinking, well, I don't know what that can't be true. He's still in a boot, by the way, watching that video. So he's still several weeks out. Yeah, I mean, everybody on Race Hub, they were predicting all-star race time at Charlotte's when he'd come back. And that's oddly the same time that his son is due. Well, his wife is technically, if you want to get to correct phrases, his wife is due, and his son is set to arrive into this lovely world of auto racing. So, how funny would, I don't know if I'd say funny, but he's finally able to race, and his wife's giving birth, so he's got to jet over and see his first son be born. So that'll be interesting to see all that stuff. So, all right. Listen, go to the Facebook page. All the videos for the front stretch are on the Facebook page. You can check them out. Just like the Facebook page. And we'll be back next weekend live again. We're going to try to track down some prizes to give away. Maybe we'll get some I-80 Speedway passes. Maybe we'll get some Eagle Raceway passes. Maybe I'll scare some stuff out of Iowa Speedway since that's coming up in a couple of weeks. There you go. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been the front stretch for Dirk Houston. I am Dan Taylor. We hope to see you next weekend live and much better than I was today. This is AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he is talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kosiski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kosiski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100 plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.